Hello, everyone. Welcome to Comics with Bueller. As always, I am Bueller, and look at this. There's a gentleman sitting kind of next to me. He's all the way over in some other part of the United States. But I'm not alone. I have Shannon Maer with me. How are you today?
Good. How is everybody? Thanks for joining us.
This is awesome. I've been wanting to have you on the show for quite some time. Like I was saying a little bit to you earlier, we were supposed to meet up at MegaCon in Orlando. Unfortunately, we all know what happened to that, and that did not happen. So we still have not met each other in person, but I'm hoping the day comes and I can buy you and Becky a coffee, if you'd let me do that.
Absolutely, of course. Yeah, told you I'd make it on. We've been planning this for a while. It took some time, but it eventually happened.
It did happen. We've been talking now since last year, and I consider us friends. We've talked about some stuff. You were actually, and I want to get into something a little bit personal right here to start off the bat. Shannon, for the first part, he's one of the best variant cover artists right now. Your variant covers sell out immediately. I mean, they're gone within minutes. I mean, let's just face it, they're gone. They come out, people buy them, they're gone. That's how they go because they're awesome. I mean, just to show you a few. This is one of them right there. I mean, look at that beautiful cover. This is actually, I believe, one of your favorite characters to draw, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, absolutely true.
There you go. That one probably sold out within like a half a second. Just looking at it, you could tell right away. But something really neat about you, I think I sent you a message a while back. It's probably around a year ago. And the first time I reached out to you, and your response was, I watch your show.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And I thought that was I was very flattered by that, to know that you actually took the time to watch the show. You knew who I was when I reached out to you, and that meant a lot. So I want to say thank you so much. I always say this, you never know who is watching on the other end. And here I'm showing Shannon's books on a regular basis when they come out because they're my thumbnails on pretty much all my videos. I can put them on there. But Shannon, thank you so much for taking the time. And I want to talk about that time because you're the type of guy that gives your time to your fans. And I appreciate that. There was one video I did not very long ago. I was talking about a comic shop and I had a bad experience, and there was a little kid that unfortunately had a really bad experience. And that thing in that video was about 40 minutes into the video. So you had to watch the whole thing to know what was going on. You messaged me like the very next day, and you said, if I knew who that kid was, I wish I could give him a bunch of my books. And I thought that was awesome for you just to take the time to say that, to reach out to me and to say that. It just goes to show how, let's just say, dedicated you are to your fans and what they mean to you. You do Comic-Cons, you go to booths, and you deal with the people that come up to your booths and stuff and your fans. What is your appreciation for them? Obviously, I've seen it. I want you to share a little bit from your side.
Yeah, I guess when I started doing this, it's interesting. It's never how you expect it to be. And what I learned right away is, doing the shows and having people come up, people that like the work and maybe want to get something signed. It's about them. The entire experience, it's always all about them. And I absolutely love it. I mean, there's nothing that could make me feel better than putting a smile on someone's face. I got to do a signing at the DC booth. I believe that was in Boston. So if you see me looking this way, we do have Becky joining us, my producer, girlfriend, everything else. So she's
wonderful, Becky, by the way. Becky's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Becky.
She'll join us a little bit more soon enough. But we got to do a signing at the booth there, and we were giving away, free signed prints and stuff, and having everybody. And there was a lot of kids actually that came by to get them and getting to, here's a Wonder Woman for you, and signing it. And, they have this little treasure in their hands. And it was just wonderful seeing them light up. And that's how I feel at the show when people come by. If I could simply, I guess not during the pandemic, but reach out, shake someone's hand or take a photo with them, I love it. Yeah. So if it's gives them a few minutes of excitement or whatever for the day, anything that I can do, it's wonderful.
I really like the fact that you acknowledge how much it means to them. Like a lot of people, you'll go up, you'll just get a signature, they just give it to you and they move along. You actually acknowledge the simple fact that that's a moment for them. That means something to them. That means something to them. Meeting Shannon Maer, meeting one of their favorite artists, it means something to them. You take the time to make sure it is something special. And that goes a long way. I think obviously more creators in any area, it doesn't have to be comic books, should acknowledge the fact that that's what they mean. To me, creators mean that to me. When I talk to a creator and get the opportunity to talk to them and get to know them, that's a moment for me. That lasts a lifetime. It's special. I just want to say thank you for doing that, for being the type of creator who takes the time to do so. My hat's off to you, my friend. And like I said, I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and shaking your hand.
Oh, absolutely. On this end as well. I know Becky can't wait to finally us to sit down together and have a cup of coffee, like you said.
Very cool. Do you have a coffee of choice?
Your coffee.
You have a coffee of choice?
Coffee of choice. Well, it's the dreaded Starbucks. I drink black coffee, so Pike. And I can't really live without my Starbucks.
Yeah. That's if you ever come here to Oregon, you'll have to go to Mocha Express. It's on me, buddy. I'll take care of it.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay. Let me just kind of jump in.
Starbucks is not an official sponsor of this video.
Mocha Express is a sponsor of this video, by the way.
Who is?
Let me go ahead and jump in the chat because we got a lot of people in here right now. We have Rob Boswell. He was one of the first. Hello, Rob. How are you? Derek Magnus. He says hello. Shannon Maer is in here. He's in here. He's a good dude. Steve White. Hello. How are you? Let's see. Hero and the Kid. They're in here. Just scrolling down. Comic Book Therapy. I mean, there's a lot of people watching, so give me a minute here. Will the Beast. He's the other half of Hero and the Kid. I think I saw that one guy that you know. Yatu is in here. Hello, Yatu. William, hello. Patrick, hello. Sam, hello. My daughter, Paige, is in here.
Hi,
Thank you so much. She just bought a house yesterday.
Oh, yeah, congratulations.
24 years old. She just bought her very first house. Wow. Congratulations, Paige. She's daddy's little girl is, what happened? Alex, the comic hoarder. Hello. Here's this guy, Comic Tom 101. This guy, you met. I've heard of him. You got the opportunity to meet him once, right?
Oh yes, recently, Chicago. It was awesome. I think in my last interview I gushed a lot about it, so I don't want to make him blush here. But that was awesome.
Yeah, he's not bad. He's a ball of energy, man. I can't get him to settle down when we hang out. Lost in Comics, JT Gamer. Let me see. Chaos in Comics is here. Tony Miles, hello. I mean, there's a lot of people in here. If I missed you, my apologies, everyone. But we're going to go ahead and jump into some of the stuff here real quick.
Becky is fielding the stream on our end, so she's announcing names to me as well. So
nice.
Shauna's out there again. Hi, Shauna. And Shauna, you will meet at the show because she's going to be joining us in the future.
Nice. Oh, I think you were talking about her before, right?
Oh, yeah. We're talking a lot about Shauna.
Stay Puff is in here.
You're really lucky she'll bring cupcakes.
Constipated in Sin City. That's a great name, whatever that is. Moni G, hello. Brett Hess Art, awesome artist as well, is in here. But Shannon, let's go ahead and get some of your work, okay? And let's talk about it. So let's talk about your first work that was published. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a book, correct? And it was a Scholastic book?
Oh, yes. That was a novel, so that was for Scholastic. It's a book cover for Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think it was 2003, but it was early on when I was moving over to working digitally. Prior to that, it was all oil paint illustration. And then I became intrigued with the idea of doing it digitally. and I remarked about it recently, but I was able to get an agent, and they hooked me up with my first cover for Scholastic. It was kind of interesting. My agent was a relative of Gustav Klimt, so carried the same last name, and that was kind of interesting. Getting my start and getting to work with those guys.
Well, I want to show this really quick. Okay. This is that
you
it?
did your research.
Oh yeah, of course I did, buddy. So that let me just tell everyone there is one copy of this on eBay right now. That is the seller. I don't know who it is, but if anyone is a completionist of Shannon's work, that is like I said, your very first published book, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. I think I have to go now. I have to go buy that.
I'm pretty sure it's not going to be here by the end of the stream. But there it is. One copy.
I have a few copies myself. I didn't know it was out there.
That's the one. That's the only one I could find. But it is out there. And I'm going to check at the end of the stream and see if it's still. I don't think it's going to be there. But I did some work, tried to hunt it down, and there it was. And I couldn't find just a basic picture of it. I had to go to eBay to find it, and that's where it was. And I remember you showed it, and I was like, okay, I got to find this thing. But that's pretty cool. I mean, are you a fan of that book?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better way to start off than getting to do a Journey to the Center of the Earth for Scholastic. That was fantastic. And something we had touched on it. I had interviewed with Black Flag Comics. I hope it's okay to mention them.
Absolutely.
And we talked about Journey, but I forgot that I did the interiors. So inside there's like 5 full-page interiors that I did for that, black and white. So it's not just the cover.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Pages. Yep.
Now I might have to just go buy that book.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know what the print count of that book, but I'm assuming it's not a huge printed book. To be totally honest, I mean, there's many different copies of that book out there on the market. It's been printed 1,000 different times. But with Shannon Maer having the cover, the very first book, people might want to get on that. We're going to make that thing spike. It'll be graded by CGC or something. I don't know.
I believe it was made for the school system. So originally you couldn't just, go to the bookstore and buy it. It was made for the books, for the school system, I believe.
Yeah. So let me jump ahead a little bit to your comic book work. And your very first book that you did for comic book wise was the Wizard of Oz one, correct?
Yeah, the Wicked West. I think it was issue 7. That's for Big Dog Inc. I assume they're okay with me talking about them again. Those guys are absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you want me to go into more on that story. I now have a cat on my lap. I don't know.
That's I have a cat as well, so that's I get it.
Here's a little insight. This is part of my work experience. So when I'm working on a cover, just at any random time, one of our 3 cats may just jump up on my lap or think they're not getting enough attention and stand right on top of my Wacom tablet.
Yeah, I've had my cat jump on the videos multiple times, knock around the camera. If you ever see the camera shake a little bit, that's because the cat is like rubbing up against the tripod or something like that.
Yeah, the cats are new for me. Becky's influenced. I had no plans to have any pets. I've been with Becky a little over 3 years now, so we naturally have 5 animals, 2 dogs and 3 cats.
There you go. When did the Wizard of Oz book come out?
Oh, I do not know. I'm gonna guess it must have been 7, 8 years ago.
7 or 8 years ago. Okay.
I'm guessing.
And you did multiple books for them, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, for probably about a year, we were doing a handful. They were a little bit sporadic, and then since then, I was only doing covers very, very occasionally.
Yeah.
And then a little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I was like, I think I really do want to do the comics. I want to give it another shot and actually really pursue it this time. And then over the course of the past year, I was able to do 31 covers, which was a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it a little bit more sustainable now, but I mean, there was no way I could say no to any of these covers,
Yeah.
It's kind of like, you dream about some of this, for your whole life. And then it's like, okay, do you want to do a cover for such and such book?
Yeah.
And then you're working on that. Okay, do you want to do a cover for this book? And it's like, yeah. And then, you get requested to do another one, maybe exhausted, but it's like, I will find a way. I will get it done. I don't need my nights. I don't need my weekends. I'll get it done.
So, Shannon, we got a couple of questions from the chat. I want to get to those a little bit here, and I think now's a pretty good time. I can actually put them on screen. So, Shannon, how did you start off with digital art? That's from Carlos.
Okay, how did I start off? Well, originally I was all traditional medium. In college, my focus was illustration for book covers, and it was all based around oil paint. And then I guess right after school, I got interested in the possibility of working digitally. It was not popular at the time. Like I said before, it existed, but it just was not commonplace. So even when I got my first agent, they didn't know how to place me or categorize me or explain me to their customers, So it was really that early on. So it was entirely self-taught. There really wasn't much in the way of tutorials, you can find out there. And I just thought that it would be a fantastic medium for doing the kind of work that I wanted to do, because I wanted it to be illustration. I wanted it to be clear and tell a story and that kind of stuff. And, I do like working traditionally. I do want to get back to working more in oil, because there's something about that, natural and working with texture and everything. But I do still absolutely love working digitally, especially since I got my wake.
No, there's some other questions in here.
What?
It chopped out there for a second, but I think we're good now. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Okay. There's some other questions in the chat, but they're actually going to be covered a little bit later on. But there's a couple in here I want to hit really fast. First off, Two Gun Pedro says, wow, do the pets all get along? That's a great question.
Oh, yeah, extremely well. We do have a couple of troublemakers, but they're very playful. So the cats, we have Ollie, which is an instigator, and he likes to tackle the other cats because he wants to play. They don't always appreciate it, but they've over time learned to get along really well. The dogs, we have a new puppy. He's about a year old, and
He's not new anymore.
well, our older dog was not thrilled at first, but she grew to absolutely love him, and I don't think that she could imagine, not having him around. So then the dogs with the cats, we have the puppy that likes to chase the cats playfully. And he's growing so quickly. We just keep having to try to explain to him how much larger he is, and he has to be gentle. It's always gentle.
Well, I wanted to show his question because Two Gun Pedro is actually the gentleman who sent me this, which is
awesome.
my only cover of yours I have in my collection. Until today, Bob gave me a cover. That. Yeah. So Two Gun Pedro, he's the one that sent this. So thank you again, Two Gun Pedro. That's awesome. That's something special. I'm going to get that signed by Shannon here eventually when we meet in person. There's a couple other questions. Let me get to those really fast as well. I like this one. Steve White says, "How do you get your inspiration for a cover?"
That's a good question. I guess, I mean, there's no exact place to start all the time, but I guess I do like to focus on what the attitude of the character is. So kind of build the mood around that. So what is the foundation for a character? And especially when I'm working on maybe a character for the first time, I try to portray like what is most iconic about them. What is their attitude? Be it in body gesture and expression, and then build off of that. Have lighting and atmosphere. All trying to target that one mood. So I think finding a mood for a character would be the short answer.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to a little bit about you there. We'll get back to some questions here in a second. But you lived in Manhattan for like 13 years.
Yes.
Up until about 2 years ago, you said, "I'm done with the city." Is there anything you miss about the city? I mean, that's the city.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we were downtown, in Battery Park City. So it was a good place to be. It was near the waterfront, so you're in the city. It's plenty busy, believe me, but having the opportunity to be in the city and then start off the morning by walking over to the waterfront and having your morning coffee there.
There you go.
It was really great, and I've worked from home for a long time, and down there, it's World Financial down there, so a lot of business people all rushing to work in the morning, and having to get online with them at Starbucks, wasn't always the best thing, but being able to experience that atmosphere and I guess not have to live the corporate lifestyle, which as an artist, it isn't for me.
Yeah. So you've now been in the mountains for about 2 years. That kind of coincides with the date when you started to do comics again, as far as like Marvel and DC, correct?
A little bit after. What were we here? About a year? No,
About a month.
about a month before I started comics.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So Becky's pointing out that
Wait.
it was very
No,
soon.
maybe it
after.
was a year.
A year.
I'm losing track now.
Well, within a year.
Yeah. Do you find it easier to work out in the country where you are now as compared to the city?
Yeah, I do. I thought maybe the energy in the city would be contribute to some, drive on my end, but being up here, it's a nice atmosphere. It's definitely relaxing, and I guess I found a different type of energy to drive me.
So I gotta ask. I mean, you're going from the city, you're going to the country. Is there anything that would scare you? Say like an encounter with a bear and the power going out, or something like that. I mean, you haven't experienced anything close to that in the country now, have you?
Yeah, actually. Me and Becky were on the front porch one night, and I believe we had Chloe, our older dog, with us, and she jumped up and started growling and then barking and kind of, running off a bit. And she wasn't on a leash. We're on a large property up here.
Yeah.
And we jumped up and took a look, and there was a bear. There was a large black bear just kind of walking up to the porch, and she kept getting closer and closer and warding off the bear. It was a little terrifying, and we hadn't been up here very long at all. So we didn't know entirely what to expect. Becky's more familiar with the wildlife than I am. So she knew that the black bears usually leave you alone. They're not going to be aggressive, but it was nothing that we wanted to put to the test.
Yeah.
So then, this actually ties into your other question. So we ran in the house, as soon as we can get the dog back, which was difficult. She kept pressing forward and forward towards the bear, and we were walking forward, and especially Becky trying to call the dog back. But eventually we got inside. We turned all of the lights on, and up here on the property we call them the runway lights. They light up the whole driveway, which is several hundred feet long. So we turned that on, all the lights in the house, the outside lights and everything. And then all of a sudden, no power. It went black. I don't know.
The neighbors too.
Yeah, the neighbors too. Yeah. And then I don't know if we tripped it because nobody up here had turned that many lights on all at once. But we got the bear out there, and we're in blackness. So it was a little scary.
It sounds definitely different from what you encounter in Manhattan, correct?
Yeah, Manhattan's got
its own issues.
Yeah, those pigeons were rough in Manhattan.
Yeah, Becky's saying those pigeons were rough.
There you go. Well, I always like to kind of get a little bit personal and kind of hear a little bit of just personal life in general for you. But let's go ahead and switch over to what you're most well known for, your variant covers that are hitting the market all the time, that are selling out all the time. So let's kind of focus on that.
Okay.
Like you said, you've done over 30 covers now, correct?
In the past year.
In the past year, yes. And mainly they've been from the big two, from Marvel and DC, and some Dynamite and some other stuff, but mainly Marvel and DC, right?
Yes.
And your favorite character is Harley Quinn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I would say that currently she's been my favorite to portray. Oh, I always enjoy doing a cover with that, and no hesitation doing more Harley covers.
So what's the reason behind why you like her so much as compared to some of the other characters?
I think it's because she's got two things going on. She's playful and dark at the same time.
Yeah. And
I think there's just so much character to play with there. What else could you ask for?
Do you have a favorite one? You've done a few of them. Do you have a favorite one of hers between the covers that you've done? I mean, this is the one I have right here, and that's a really nice one. Then we have this one right here. We'll just show them.
I would say the one that you had first shown.
This one right here.
Yeah, I had when I decided I wanted to do comics again. Go down that road and see if I can potentially work with some of these publishers. I started working on, some personal pieces, and I figured, I should portray their characters. And that was one of the first that I did before I had an opportunity to, go and have a portfolio review at one of the shows. So I was able to bring in a few of these actual characters that I had created, on my own. And that was one of them.
Do you have a favorite Marvel character that you do?
Oh, well, I'm trying to think of any that we've repeated.
Your Ghost Spider, you really like that one.
Okay, well, I don't know how many I've done multiple portrayals of, but Becky's pointing out that Ghost Spider, I was really excited to do that one.
That's a beautiful cover. I mean, that one sold out fast too, didn't it?
Yeah, she was just such a cool looking character and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I want to do this, and a lot of time went into that, a lot of work went into that cover. But I'm just so excited about it. I could be very far through the image and being like, okay, but what if it was raining? And that just adds a whole nother level to the illustration.
Has Becky ever inspired you to do a cover?
I'm sorry?
Has Becky ever inspired you to do a cover?
Oh, Becky is always promoting or getting excited and saying, yes, you have to do this one. Yes, oh my God, you're doing this one. Are there any specifics that you can think of? Putting her on the spot here.
I don't know. Probably the Spider-Man #1 that was written by J.J. Abrams. That one I was really pushing for you to do that
through the
one.
roof. Okay.
That one right there.
Yeah, that one there.
Yeah.
That was very cool to do.
Yes.
I daydream about maybe at a show having an opportunity to get him and his son, to sign it. That would be really awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Does Becky sit there? Does she look at your work and say, "Come on, Shannon, you can do a little bit better"? I mean, does she critique your work here and there?
Critique it. Becky is definitely always, I get feedback. I'm always, showing her my stuff. So
Yep.
absolutely. Does she say the words "come on"? It could be a little bit better. I maybe secretly,
No.
maybe she phrases it differently, so that I don't interpret that so bluntly. But yeah, no, she's usually got some nice things to say. She's very much a positive reinforcement type person. One of the biggest hearts I've ever met. So
Is this the first appearance of somebody?
the first, oh, that would be my first DC cover.
But the facial.
Oh, you're asking if it's styled, after Becky?
Yeah.
No. People think it tends to look a bit like her. Becky is a face that I see day to day. They say with artists, they ask them to draw a person and they tend to draw themselves, not realizing it. So I don't know, but not purposely.
Subconsciously, maybe.
Uh,
A little bit. It's all right. A little bit. Very cool.
but
Well, let's talk about
that was my first DC cover.
that one. Was
Yeah, in case you weren't aware, that's the first cover I did for DC.
that's awesome. I love for one, I love the cover, and for two, I love the book. I don't know if you read this the C storyline.
Yes, I did.
It's one of my favorite storylines of last year. I'm glad they're continuing it this year, and now they're doing a digital version, but that's a whole nother topic. We won't talk about that. But your most recent book that came out actually, well, Venom 25, okay, which is kind of a departure from what you're used to, because you're normally doing a female portrait, and Venom is obviously not a female portrait. It's a face. Did you find any difficulties kind of switching to that type of a character?
No, I was thrilled to have an opportunity to do that. Really wanted to do that. I guess definitely go down the creature road. My phrasing, however you'd want to call it. But it was a nice departure. I want to mix it up more. I definitely want to do some more of the male characters as well. Definitely want to get Batman. Definitely looking forward to maybe having an opportunity to do a Batman cover.
I noticed your Catwoman cover that comes out. I mean, the Catwoman cover actually that's going to be in this anniversary issue. That's actually a piece of artwork that you did quite a while ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah, that would have been some sample art that I did some time back.
Yeah, and now that's the cover of a special edition put out by who is it? Who's putting that out for you? I can't remember.
Comic.
Oh, the comic bit.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
And
yeah.
on her shoulder is a reflection of Batman, correct?
Yes.
So is that you secretly want to do Batman, so you're putting them in there, kind of a hidden thing, right?
In there. Nobody's, not everybody sees it at first, so maybe it was just the way to sneak it in there.
That's very cool. I noticed that right away. I was like, oh, because I remember you saying you wanted to do Batman, and I've seen other drawings that you've done of Batman, if I'm not mistaken, just some art that you've done, not cover art, just basic art of Batman. Is there any other male characters that they're iconic ones that you'd enjoy, portraying?
Oh, well, Daredevil.
Daredevil?
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bob just got all excited.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, what does Bob want me to do?
He wants you to do Daredevil.
Yeah, anything else?
Anything else, Bob?
Oh, Joker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things. I'd love to see him do Cap.
Captain America. He probably want you to do Bullseye and Bullseye
and Daredevil.
And Elektra. Those are probably the ones he'd want you to do.
I tell you the ultimate. I want Doom.
He wants Doom.
Doom.
Yeah, there you
go.
And
I do spend a lot of time thinking about Joker. such a character, such a I guess interesting characteristics on him. So I keep envisioning how I'd specifically want to portray him.
Yeah. Let's see. There was another question here. Let me get to this real fast. I saw it pop in here. They kind of scroll up and down pretty quick. Ryan says, can he explain the idea behind your rendition of Venom? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, where I started with that was what intrigues me the most about Venom, and I just knew that I wanted to get in close, show the teeth and some drool, and he's got the long tongue, and like I just knew I wanted to feature that, and I just wanted to get in close and try to portray that the best that I could.
I enjoyed it. I saw it. I thought it was a great looking cover. Like I said, that one made my thumbnail a while back when I did a video. I think you said I was messing around in that video or something like that. You messaged me because that was the video I made, and I showed all the variants for the Venom 25.
Oh yes, I remember.
Yeah, I was like, and another one, and another one,
some fun,
and another one, a little bit of fun. Let me ask you that really quick, and you were a fan of comics. You've enjoyed comics a long time. Okay, I've heard you say when you had a pull box, you go to the comic shop, get your comics. It was a weekly thing, correct?
Yeah, I think I started when I was about 13.
Yeah,
12 or 13.
So let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot because obviously you are a creator, and I have much respect for creators and comic shops. Those are my two main people that I enjoy the most. But when you see a video and you see me showing 30, 40 different variants for a certain book, what's your thought? Do you think that's a lot? I mean, I want work for artists. That's important, okay? But as a consumer on my end, that's a lot of choices to choose from, and it's a lot of great stuff that comes out. It's overwhelming sometimes.
Oh, you're really putting me on the spot here. My opinion on it, I don't know. I guess instead of honestly directly answering your question, I'd like to go off on a tangent on that.
Okay.
And so admittedly, little tangent, but I think it feeds in. I don't view it competitively with other artists. I love seeing their work.
Yeah,
absolutely love it. When I go to the shows, one of my favorite things is to go out into Artist Alley and just go, down the rows and check out everybody's work. And I think that the variety of artists, it's wonderful for the industry. So seeing other creators make absolutely fantastic stuff, I don't see it competitively. I see it as them drawing more attention to a field that I love. So if they're finding an outlet for all these covers for these books, for all of their work, I think it's fantastic. So I guess I kind of, in the end, did answer the question.
You did answer it. And you know what? Here's the thing. And, I cover all the books on my videos. You've watched them and stuff. And sometimes I do get overwhelmed by the amount of different covers that there is. But there is a market for it. And so let's just be honest. If there wasn't a market for it, they wouldn't exist. People enjoy the work that you do. People enjoy the work that Funky Cole Matina does. Of course, I got to get his name in there. Yeah. So there is a market for it, and it's beautiful variants that have the artwork and the stuff that you bring to the market is what sparks the market. So honestly, even though there's a lot to choose from, there's some great options, and I got to take my hat off to you for providing us that option. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot. I knew I would a little bit, but I tried to phrase it a little bit so you can wiggle out a little. I don't know. But I want to ask you about something very cool, and me and you have this in common. Betty Page. You are a huge fan of Betty Page. You're actually an official licensed artist for Betty Page, correct?
Yes.
And What sparked you to want to become an officially licensed artist for Betty Page?
Oh, um, I guess. Well, I love portrayals of Betty Page. I think absolutely fantastic model. She's just, she's legendary. And it's not, there was always more to her, than just, pinup model. That she had such life in her, such expression in her face. Like she was playful, she was having fun. And I think that is what made her popular. People picked up on that. And I always admired it. And I just started thinking, I would love to start painting Betty Page. And at the time, I guess I kept mulling it over. And there was, I guess, a temptation to just start doing Betty Page fan art. And I guess I was a little tired of doing that. And I was like, I'm inspired enough. If I'm going to do Betty Page, I want to do this the right way. And I didn't know I was going to talk about this, but it was like 3 a.m. one night. I'm, in Manhattan, just doing my personal work probably, and been thinking about it for hours and got really motivated. And next thing I knew, I was online trying to find a way to reach out to them. See who held the rights for Betty Page and where that was at the moment. And one thing led to another through the line, and I finally found a place to send a query letter. And it was like 3 a.m. I sent it off and went back to doing my work. And I guess I heard my email go bing, and I looked back and I had gotten a reply. And it was from the owner, the company, the person that had the rights to Betty Page now. They're fantastic. She loved them and signed over the rights and make sure that, they would do right by her. And I guess he was a night owl and probably working into the middle of the night, so I had sent him a query letter and some samples and got a response right away. And it was pretty much something like, what are you thinking? And we got to chatting, and after some time, wound up doing licensed work.
And you're still a licensed artist for her right now?
Yes.
Yes. And
yeah, and I do want to get back to it. I haven't done a new piece recently. It had been a busy year with all these covers, but definitely something I want to pursue more.
Yeah, I've seen some of your work on the Betty Page, and like I said, I'm a huge fan. My daughter's name is Paige. Just seeing the artwork that you did of her, and that's an actual character. I mean, that she's an actual person. It's not like Harley Quinn or whatever. It's an actual person. It's just awesome, just awesome. So I want to thank you for doing that as well, because that's one of my favorites. There's some other questions in here. I want to get to this, and this kind of leads me to my next topic. It says, how did you start drawing covers for Marvel or DC?
Oh, well, my first, they do portfolio reviews occasionally at shows. And I think Becky was aware that they were doing reviews, and made sure that I brought my portfolio and stuff. We were exhibiting at that show. And Becky again was absolutely fantastic in making sure that I had everything organized. You have your books, you have multiple books. We were exhibiting, so I didn't have an opportunity to go down and drop off my books. She took care of that, and she filled out the paperwork and got me signed up on the sheet. And I guess they do their reviews, and then they, call back some people, and I got to go and meet with them, and it was a fantastic experience, so that was my first opportunity to have communication on that end.
So the process, I kind of want to get into the process a little bit of how the covers come to be. Because you'll do exclusive covers for comic shops or whatever, correct?
Yep.
Yeah. Does the comic shop contact you and license you out to make their cover, or is it Marvel? I mean, how does that work? I mean, I'm not looking for financials or nothing like that, but I'm curious how the process goes from, concept to the company thing, the comic shop thing, and then here it is, you can buy it.
Oh, absolutely not my place. The behind the scenes, I leave that to everybody, the publishers and retailers and stuff like that. I don't know if they care or not if I talk about it, but just absolutely, I just leave all those questions to them.
you leave all that business stuff to them. You're there to do the artwork, correct?
Yeah, I just do the artwork.
Well, you do a great job. Well, I can understand that. So let's go ahead and switch to your future works. And this is kind of interesting because you said some really neat things the other day when I was watching a different interview. For one, apparently you are a writer. You've written a half a novel, didn't finish it apparently, but over a half a novel, which is great. I don't know if you've ever shared that with anybody, what it's about. But in the future, you reference possibly, working on your own book.
Yeah, definitely something that I want to pursue. Me and Becky have talked about it for quite a while. Becky is a fantastic writer. And I think there's a lot of potential for us to write something together. If I was to do interiors, it would absolutely be for our own book.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that I'd be doing that, for someone else. It's not particularly my forte. So it would be a tremendous amount of work for me. I think I've spoken recently about the respect I have for the people that do interiors.
Yeah.
How fantastic the work is, the speed in which they do it. So I'll have to say, don't expect that kind of speed from me. But if it was for our own publication, I think it would be worth it, and I'd love to give it a go.
So would it be an original title with original characters?
Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, not to get too much detail, but what genre would it be? Superhero, fantasy? Anything you kind of lean
have
towards?
To wait on that one. We've discussed a few different concepts, but I think you'll have to wait on that answer.
I'm trying.
You were really feeling like the press today.
Come on, man. It's all good. But I'm excited. I'm excited to when I found out that you were, that you wrote, because that was actually a question I was curious about doing, because I've talked to a lot of artists who want to write, and I've talked to a lot of writers who want to draw or do art. It seems like the going from writing to doing art is a lot harder for some than others. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you can bring to the table, because your artwork tells a story. The artwork that you put out tells a story, what you're trying to portray on the cover itself. So the story, all you have to do is put that into word form and put that on the paper, and the artwork does it for you. So I'm very anxious to see what you have planned. I mean, I don't know, there's probably no time frame, but when there is a time frame in line, please feel free to share that with me. And,
Okay,
and I will gladly let people know. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm very excited. Another thing I had in here, what do you prefer? This was actually a question earlier. Do you prefer digital or pencil work or paint?
No, there's no particular preference. I think it's just what's required or what I need to do at the time. I like the speed and versatility of digital. I like the natural look and texture of oil. As for pencil, I enjoy the experience of it because it's hands-on. It feels like sculpting to me. So working, especially in black and white, I do like working in colored pencils a bit, but
yeah.
It's usually black and white, so it's more directly. It feels sculptural, just shaping it out and shading until you have your form and your lighting. So, did I answer?
Yeah, I want to share this really quick, and just so people can see the talent that is on screen here, and it's not me, it's this guy. But I want to share this really fast. And this is your pencil work when you were 15 years old. And that is absolutely amazing. At 15 years old, that's what you're able to put on paper. And that is awesome. Talk about having a talent from almost the very beginning. Can you talk about that work a little bit?
Yeah, well, first I'd say the 15-year-old that created that was not expecting one day that you'd be broadcasting it. But that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, art was a focus my entire life. I can look back on it and see stages where I progressed. I was always trying to grow, but there's moments and there's specific pieces that I've done where I felt like I really grew. So I remember sitting down and doing that one and wanting it to be more, beyond what I've been doing before. And I do remember specifics at the time. I was trying to figure out, I don't know how much detail you wanted here, but I remember a lot. I wanted to figure out how to treat edges. Like, I didn't understand how they're really supposed to be portrayed.
Yeah.
Like, what are we really looking at in reality? And I remember what occurred to me was there's no real edges. Everything is edges, being, if you got the edge of the arm, well, anything that's shaded in between, with muscles and veins and everything, any variation has its own edges. And then that's where I observed that, well, it's not a sharp line, it gets soft. So then that's really the first time where I delved into trying to treat all of my edges as having variations of softness or sharpness. So that was an important image for me, I guess.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't know what you did before that, but looking at that piece of artwork and not being able, is that the point you recognize, man, I've got a talent. I can do something very special.
Are you saying that I recognized?
Yeah. Is that at what point did you recognize that? Is this one of those pieces that kind of put your mind to that and said, you know what, I've got the talent. I can make things happen.
No, I never viewed it that way. I was always motivated. I felt that if I worked hard enough, that I could develop my skills, and maybe to get to do some of the things that I wanted to do. But there was never a moment where I was like, I have it. I always feel like I'm trying to push myself and develop and grow.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to actually feel that way, as if I've achieved, I guess in technique or anything, what I was setting out to do. I think there is no end for that ever. It's a continuous process for any artist.
Yeah, you're very humble, Shannon. I gotta tell you, man, because that is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. Let me pull that off there. We're gonna go ahead and have my good friend Bob, who is the co-host of the Coffee and Comic Show that you watch. He's got a couple questions he wants to ask you, if that's okay.
Absolutely, Bob. Thrilled to
All right,
see
we're gonna switch here. You're off the hook for a little bit, Shannon.
Okay.
Maybe just a little bit.
How you doing there, Shannon?
Good. There
Awesome
Hi,
stuff.
Bob.
Really appreciate you being on today, and I really appreciate Bueller for giving me the opportunity to be able to talk to you. I'm a huge fan. I think we're in a renaissance of great cover art, and you, my friend, are definitely the only artist I can truly say that I have set myself to collect everything that you've done.
Wow.
I just love your work. It's just amazing.
My apologies for doing so many covers in the past year.
No, keep them coming, please. So I don't have a lot of questions because some of the stuff that I was going to ask you has already been asked, and I don't want to duplicate anything. But there is a question that was asked inside of the chat that I think will lead me into my first question, and it comes from Mark the Cuddy Sark. When you get contracted to do a piece from, say, Marvel or DC, they kind of tell you, what it is that they're looking for, but do you have the freedom to do whatever you want, or did they inform you kind of on what they're looking for?
Well, I'm never going to speak about any specific publisher and how they progress through things. So how I'll answer that question is different for different covers or different requests. It all varies. Sometimes I get freedom. Sometimes I get more specific requests. But that is in no answer to any specific publisher. I just talk broad because I work with many different publishers, throughout the industry. So I never want to talk in any details about how anybody, likes to do anything. Sure. But, I guess in general, I enjoy, the freedom when I have an opportunity to do that. And sometimes it's great to hear ideas when someone presents that.
Awesome stuff. So that kind of leads me right into my next question. So you get contracted for a piece, and one of the things that I've always noticed about a lot of your covers on some of the characters that you do, the eyes are very stunning, very piercing. And watching other artists for a number of years, Jim Lee being one of them, he always says that he starts his work by working on the eyes first. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and ask, I know you talked about getting attitude and things like that, right? But do you kind of do the same thing, start with eyes and then build from there? Can you kind of walk us through how you start a piece off?
Oh, I guess, often, almost always, but not always, the eyes are a focal point. So I always try to keep that in mind. Obviously there's exceptions, but very broadly, it's commonly the case. We're drawn there. So if there are eyes on the page, we tend to be drawn there. And I always try to keep that in mind and kind of work on it until I feel that there's enough life in there. When I tackle it, I guess it starts early on, but it's throughout the entire process that I'm working around the eyes, maybe leading things towards the eyes, lighting, color and everything. So it's all connected that way.
That's awesome. Now, that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up is your use of color. Just in the last 4 years, because of some surgeries that I had, I started getting into coloring myself, and I never realized how much I loved vivid color. And that's one of the things about your pieces that is unmistakable about anything that you do. Your colors are so vivid, it's so bright, and so striking. It just blows me away. Like if you take the Catwoman cover, that's predominantly just all warm covers, which is, it's stunning. And then you look at the cover that you did with Gamora, and that's all cool colors. And then you got these, covers where you do this real insane mix that really makes it work well, like the X-23 cover, where half of her is lit up with warm colors, half of it's lit up by cool colors, and you can see that reflected on the blades coming out. I think it's just masterful. Your use of color, how do you choose your colors, and what's the process for that? Because your lighting and colors are just insanely well done.
I would have to say I really don't know. I think I just more so feel it. So putting it into words, like I said, if I'm working on a particular character, I look at what intrigues me most about the character, how I feel about that, and I guess I have a response to that question with the color palette, and the color palette and the lighting that creates the mood, and I guess I just kind of feel my way with that. It's
just so well done. I don't think there's anybody out there who can quite compare. And I'll say that hands down. I love your color. I love the
Quite a
lighting.
compliment. Thank you, Bob.
It's good. It's amazing stuff. What was the one question from that one guy? Comic Zone. Okay, so there is a question that came in on the last couple of days from Comic Zone, and it's a question that's been burning on my mind as well. Throughout this year, we've had a lot of the cons canceled. We saw you at C2E2 with Comic Tom. I was insanely jealous, wanted to be there, and then MegaCon was coming up, and I was looking forward to being there with Bueller and actually getting to meet you. And then, of course, that got canceled as well. Do you have anything in the works for any private signings or anything coming up in that direction?
Well, that is the big question. When do we start doing that again? When do I feel comfortable with it? There's been some inquiries, but I don't know how to respond about it. If it's regarding a private, comic shop, which I've never done. I've been asked a few times, and I would love to do it. I think I would enjoy that a lot. When do I feel comfortable enough doing that? Just kind of waiting it out, like everybody else.
Sure. Well,
there's nothing to specifically announce on that. But there are inquiries. I've been asked to do that, and I do want to do it.
Understood. Yeah, I mean, there's a great many of us out there that would, love a chance to be able to have, some of your great artwork signed, me being one of them. But really, when it comes down to it, staying safe is the better place to be. And that's where we want you, man. So just, stay safe.
Yeah. And everybody else, it's not just about, me feeling safe there. I want to make sure that everybody, and if there's going to be any kind of crowd or whatever, that, it's a comfortable environment for everybody. And I wouldn't want anybody feeling like, oh, I really wanted to go, but, it's not the time for that. I don't want to put anybody in that kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to when things start to open up, when it's safe and opportunities, going forward, having them open up, because I want an opportunity to be able to meet you. I'd like to buy you a cup of coffee too.
Could be drowning in coffee.
That's for sure, man. And I would love to see you do a Daredevil, Doctor Doom. Those two are my favorite of all time. So that would probably be like my personal, dream that Shannon Maer would ever do. But I just love your artwork, and I thank you for the opportunity for letting me come on and just ask you a couple of questions. You are just an amazing guy, man, and I appreciate your stuff.
No, thank you so much. And I have loved watching you on air, and I think the two of you make a great team, and you have your own channel as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, Everything Comics.
Yep. So I love seeing you guys and your show. So I am a fan of you guys.
Thanks a lot, Shannon. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're a huge fan of yours. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Bueller. I just love the opportunity. Thank you so much, Shannon.
Okay. Thank you. Anytime.
All right, I'm back.
There he is.
Bob's done like he's just gushing right now. He's all.
No, Bob is awesome.
We're going to be wrapping up here in the next few minutes, but I got a couple other questions that were sent to me, and I want to get to those from a few of your fans. Luis Arruos said, "Do you have a current favorite artist?"
No, that's tough. I am, I am just blown away by so many artists. And every time I turn around, somebody else is doing something fantastic. So I just appreciate so many artists. So if we're talking, current working artists and everything, there's no one I particularly lean towards as my favorite. I just appreciate such a broad spectrum. There was no way for me to narrow that down.
Mike Mayhew, how about that one?
Oh yeah. I mean, my list, if I started going through names, it can go on and on. But Mayhew is awesome person as well. I got to meet him in person. Use that word again. In Chicago, and got to sit down with him, and there was a group of us, for dinner or drinks, and had a wonderful time getting to chat with him. And he was really great.
I sent him a message, told him that you were on the channel tonight. So I don't know if he's watching, but if he is, great. If not, that's all right. He gets to hang out and have dinner with you.
I am sure he is very busy.
Yeah. So this question is actually for Becky as well. Who's her favorite comic book artist?
I want to get her in. So why don't you come over and join us?
Hello, Becky.
Hello.
That's awesome. Who's your favorite comic book artist?
Oh,
Mine?
Yeah. Yeah, I figured you know.
I was a fan of his before we ever met and started dating. So, if you asked me before we were dating, somebody was like, "Who's your favorite artist?" I'd be like, Shannon Maer.
Nice.
So it's that's not just because I'm slightly biased now. That
worked out pretty good for you. That worked out pretty well for you then, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very cool. Well, I'll put this question to both of you guys as well. This is from Tony Miles. Says, do you feel that comic art is fine art?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. I don't really think that there's truly a separation where you can take any art and pull it away and say that it's not fine art. I understand how they've categorized over the years, and they like to call something illustration versus fine art. And then when they try to tackle that and define it, it goes into the storytelling part of it. But even fine art is telling a story. And even if it's completely abstract and it's just about, mood or emotion, it's still a story. And I think quality illustration has that in it as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that is what draws us to this art, these covers, any specific artist that you might appreciate. That there's a very strong aspect of that you would have to categorize as fine art.
Very nice. Becky, do you have a favorite character?
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, how do you like being on the spot?
Yeah, I got to ask some questions of Becky.
Well, Harley Quinn has always been a favorite of mine.
I already used that one. You can't reuse it.
I really liked her, especially, in her years leaving the Joker, and becoming her own person and, showing that your past doesn't define you. There's a lot of really great qualities about her. Plus she's really quirky and fun. And so I've always really liked her. But I like so many characters. It's really hard to say. Like, it really just depends on my mood.
There's a question from Here on the Kid. Says, did Shannon ever try animation, or have you any desire to do animation?
Do animation? Well, maybe not in the respect that you're asking about. I used to work in broadcast as a graphics animator. Okay. So I did, graphics packages for television, lots of animation, but, more in the graphics sense. Maybe a little special effects, work here and there. So I really love that. But if you're talking about character animation, once upon a time, I thought it was something that I might want to get into. Some of these companies that I was interested in pursuing, but I never went that route. So not currently.
Not currently. So what's the cat's name?
This is Bella.
Oh, Bella.
Which is short for Bellatrix.
Bellatrix. Now, are you guys aware of my cat's name?
No.
No? My cat's name is Nipples. Nipples the cat. That's what her name is. But you have other animals that are named after, like, Marvel characters, and right?
Well, Ollie, the orange cat that's been seen in the background a bit, that's Oliver Queen.
Okay.
Then Bella's Bellatrix.
Lestrange.
Bellatrix Lestrange, yeah. Then Sarah, she's our black
Harry
and white
Potter.
cat.
You didn't seem to know all the Harry Potter references. last time we spoke. But Bellatrix was strange. Sorry, my words here.
Nice.
Sarah, which we based off the Labyrinth. And then there's Chloe, which was we got her when my son was 6 years old, and so we let him name her, and she was obsessed with he was obsessed with Beverly Hills Chihuahua at the time, so her name was Chloe. And then Marvel, which is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Which isn't named after anything in particular.
And Marvel's the one that had the recent incident with the more wildlife, correct?
The porcupine, yeah.
The porcupine,
so,
that's greatly.
So we did get the our puppy right when I was working on my first cover for Marvel, and I guess it just felt like an appropriate name for him. I hope that nobody out there has an issue with that. Just kind of happened, awesome. And it felt fitting for him.
Well, I think we're going to wrap it up, but I wanted to take a minute because you had mentioned something before we started about you running into someone who did the posters for all the movies, the Star Wars and everything. You said it was a kind of a fun story. You want to elaborate that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was a couple of years ago, I guess. It was at Boston. It was exhibiting there. Becky was with me, and I had no idea, but Drew Struzan was there. And he's a legend.
Star Wars movie posters, Raiders of the Lost Ark movie posters, right?
Yeah, Star Wars, original Star Wars and straight on through. The Raiders, he did,
Goonies.
The Goonies. Remember the Goonies poster? I mean, just them holding on one after the other, the kids. Absolutely brilliant, fantastic work, inspiring. And movie posters, I was really drawn to them in my youth and growing up. And I guess even at the time, I didn't realize how much that this single person, was an inspiration to me, because I didn't tie all of these posters to him, or at least the vast majority of them. And I, at the time, knowing who he was, and then finding out he was at the show, I had to go over and, see if I can get something signed from him and whatnot. And it was the very end of the day. And I was very lucky. So it was the end of the day and he was finishing up with somebody. So then I got a poster from him and I got it signed. And I wasn't going to talk his ear off. I was just happy with that. And, he's still popular. I didn't want to, take up much of his time, but he was very chatty and he started talking to me and asking questions. And then, and he found out, you're an artist and stuff like that. And I guess before leaving, I said, yeah, well, I'm down in the corner because we were exhibiting. So just directly in the corner that way. If you wanted to stop by tomorrow. And of course, did not expect that to happen. Just thought it was a pleasantry. And he said, yeah, sure. And so the next day, we're working at our booth, and I catch a glimpse of Drew Struzan walking down the aisle. He's got sunglasses on, but I wasn't thinking at all that maybe he was a little incognito, so that he could walk through the crowds there. And before I knew it, I never do anything like this. I don't usually do the fanboy thing, but I'm like, I guess my impulse was, did he, does he see me? I don't want to miss him. And before I knew it, I'm just yelling, Drew! I put up my hand, I'm like, Drew! And I see him as casually as can be. He just kind of turns and looks at me, puts his head down a little bit, and walks right over, and he comes over, and I won't go into the details, but for the next, I don't know, half hour plus more, he was in the booth with us. He came in the booth.
That's awesome.
He was as personable as could be. It was just fantastic, not only an amazing artist, but an amazing human being. And it was just an absolute highlight, for me to have him join us like that. And then it happened. I couldn't believe this happened. I have Drew Struzan. Okay, I have Drew Struzan in the booth with us, and I had to turn to him, and his wife was with him as well, and she was amazing. But I had to turn to him and say, Drew, I think I might even have my hand on his shoulder. I don't know. Drew, I have to go. Right? I literally had to tell him that I had to go. I had my interviews, my portfolio reviews with Marvel and DC.
Oh wow!
And I was like, what do I do? You know, I have Drew Struzan in my booth, but I can't miss my reviews.
Yeah.
And I had to do that. Of course, he was gracious. Oh, absolutely, I understand. You know, and good luck and everything. And it was just a phenomenal experience. So I went straight from having, I'm gonna say his name again, Drew Struzan, in my booth with me, and running off to Marvel and DC portfolio reviews.
So that was a pretty good day.
Yeah, it was exciting. I'm still excited about it, you know.
That's awesome, man.
A few years later, and I'm still like, that was awesome.
That's very cool. That's one thing I miss the movie posters, the artwork that was on them. We don't really get that in at all anymore. But some of the iconic ones, I mean, as soon as you said the Goonies, that just popped right in my brain, them hanging there and stuff like that. I miss that stuff. I wish I had some of those still to this day, because I had the Star Wars ones. You can still get them, but it's a shame we don't see new ones, and I wish we did.
Oh yeah, I mean, they still exist. It's just not as commonplace.
Yeah.
And if anybody needs to become more familiar with Drew, there is an amazing documentary out there. I believe it's called The Man Behind the Poster. Mm-hmm. Right? I really hope I got that right.
I think I might have seen that one.
It is a fantastic documentary. And, him and his wife, they're both very down to earth, very warm, people. And they were truly like that in person. So it's fantastic to see, and I just always appreciate seeing that. It just makes me a bigger fan of people that are like that.
Very cool. Well, hey, Shannon, we're going to wrap it up. I need to ask you, though, I have your link down below to your Facebook, so anyone can check that out. You can find out more about Shannon. Is there anything that's for sale right now? Because everything sells out. So everything I tell people to go buy, it's already gone. Is there anything people can buy of yours right now, or what's coming up that people can buy?
Oh, well, I never announce anything, before the publishers or anything put that out, they would have to ask, but sure. I always, of course, let them announce everything first.
Yeah.
In terms of what's out there right now, the Venom that's sold out.
That's my point.
There's some trade dress options on the Comic Mints website.
Yeah, I'm gonna make sure people know this, that they can try with partner sites. So if there's a retailer that maybe primarily covers something, there's a few partner sites out there that are always good to try. A lot of my stuff is through the Comic Mint, which hey Steven, if you're out there, awesome guy, awesome company. It's always fantastic to get to work with those guys or do anything with them, because I know that they have an amazing reputation, with I guess their clientele. So I never have any hesitation saying, go check them out. But there's if you're abroad, they are. Are they London 789?
I'm not sure. UK.
Okay. But 789 is in the UK. There's Mutant Beaver, and I always pronounce this wrong. Amorphous Inc. Amorphous Inc. Anybody? Sad Lemon. And all right. Well, I don't want to forget any, but it's hard to rattle through a list of names.
But a good way for people to find out any current information is just checking your Facebook, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, that link is down below. I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Shannon, for coming on. Yeah. Thank you, Becky, as well. I can't really see it, but thank you so much. I hope you had a good time. I know it sounds like everyone in the chat had a good time. Did you want to say a couple words to them really fast, your fans that are watching right now?
Yeah, again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us here. Anybody that came to see this, I'm as thrilled, and Bob, I see poking in there, but I'm as thrilled to have you guys here. I love announcing it online and then hearing, people when you say you're gonna come and join us, and then hearing you announce who's online and Becky whispering, who's out there. I know my mother was going to try and join us today. So if you're out there, hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. That's awesome.
Yeah, I hope she found the link. So,
Very cool.
No, just a big, broad thank you, guys. It's fantastic.
Well, thank you, Shannon. Like I said, I appreciate it. Stick around here for a second because we'll still be going here in a minute. But I want to say thank you so much to everyone who showed up tonight to spend this time with myself and Shannon and Bob and Becky. We are looking forward to putting this together, and hopefully we shed some light on some wonderful variants that Shannon has done. Some of his past stuff, his present stuff, and who knows, some stuff in the future, like his own book. Very much looking forward to that. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you very soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You know what to do. We'll see you next time.